Keep playing.
Welcome back to another episode of Eagles Weekly. Here are your hosts, Brett, Haas, Mac, and Jack. How we feeling, fellas?
We are doing great. All right, welcome back to Eagles Weekly, episode 30. I'm one of your hosts, Brett Ryder, joined today by my international marketing guru, Mac Hutchinson, and no ACC athlete, as he has consumed a couple too many cheeseburgers or something along those lines at I assume was a company event earlier. We'll be sure to ask him next week when he's back. But first, Mac, how are you doing?
Dude, doing great. Day one, training camp. Great day. Got a lot to dive in there. But, happy to hop on here and give the audience the lowdown. Basically, it's football season, man. It's football season.
It is football season, dude. And I couldn't be happier to have seen, kind of not only some of like the updates, but some of the videos and the visuals of camp starting. It's nice that it's finally here, and I think we're gonna get a lot of storylines that are gonna play out over these next month or so, and we still have to figure out who the quarterback's gonna be. We got to figure out there's a lot of moving parts. The offensive line, like really what that unit's going to look like, and who's going to step up just in terms of like receivers beyond Lewis and Reed Harris, and the running back situation. I think the running back situation is something that's kind of flown under the wire, but that's a pretty intriguing one considering Turbo and McDonald's. They're more or less going to be battling for position there. Are we going to see a 1-2 there? Is it going to be a 1A, 1B there? Like there's a lot of intriguing storylines that are kind of coming out of it. And
you might see a 1B, 1C, and 1D. We got Broom back, and you got Bo McCormick as the freshman that might make an impact. Do
you think he'll get some burn this year?
I think he might. He was taking a good amount of snaps today, which was nice to see. And they just talk about how talented that kid is. But again, the running backs are just one part of it. I think there's so much depth. It's one of this team has more depth than we've seen like previous years. I think pretty much across all positions. I think I agree with you. Like O-line, D-line, like the trenches are the most concerning because you're just you want to see them and how they perform against heavy competition. But as a BC, as BC guys, like we're used to having solid players in the trenches, and we're used to filling in those holes every year. So when you think about that, you got depth at wide receiver, you got one of the best quarterback rooms you've ever had, you got the most depth you've ever seen at secondary. Like you just said, the running backs are incredible. Your linebackers you're feeling better about. With Crouch, leading the way there. So, I can get into practice, but just kind of overall, the mindset going into training camp was, hey, we got depth here. Is it all going to come and mesh together, for that starting team going out there against, Fordham and then Michigan State?
Yeah, that's the thing that kind of coincides with it too, is not only is there a lot of depth within this roster, the schedule is vastly improved. The very tough schedule. It's intriguing to say the least that we're now in year 2 of Bill O'Brien. He's at a full off season, a full spring practice, and he had a spring practice last year too, but he was still kind of getting his bearings, where now he's like here doing his thing. He's at a whole off season. So it's very intriguing in that sense. What would you say was like the vibe for practice today? Like what was the energy like?
I think that like the energy was good. I would say there was a little jitters. Like I could feel like this
Sure.
was it was a day one. Like it felt
Yeah.
authentically day one. When you kind of look at the offense, like my biggest like one of the bigger takeaways was the offense kind of struggled today. And the big, obviously the number one storyline going into spring training is the quarterback position, the competition between Dylan Lonergan and Grayson James, and both of them, took pretty equal snaps today. But at the end of the day, Dylan probably had one of his worst days. I watched him all through spring practice, and he was performing at a very high level. Today was, one of the worst. He looked rusty out there. And then also Grayson, he looked, a little off as well. So both of them kind of, I know Grayson maybe performed a little bit better, but the offense didn't look that it's clearly a day one. They're not ready. They're clearly not ready yet. A big factor though,
Sure.
we can dive into that competition in a second, but I just want to, like, before people panic, the big reason for that is because of the secondary, dude. The secondary was like balling out. They've been the most consistent part of this team since, all through spring practice as well. They just were breaking up passes consistently. There's a nice pick today, off a bounce. There's barely any separation with these guys. So if the quarterback's not throwing a perfect pass, and even if they do throw a good pass, a lot of these passes are getting broken up. So that just goes to the secondary and the talent that we have at secondary. But at the end of the day, your quarterbacks are both competing for the starting position, and they both didn't
Sure.
perform that well today. So that is kind of the big takeaway from today.
I mean, and in all seriousness, too, like, when has a quarterback ever really performed well in the first couple of days of training camp? Like, I don't think that they've ever come out slinging,
Yeah.
So I'm not too concerned about it.
Same. That's kind of where I'm at. It's not as big of a deal. It's just, an observation. They just looked a little bit,
Yeah, for
today.
sure.
And again, we have 3 more days, I think 2 more practices of no pads. Like we're not into this situation yet, and this competition is clearly still happening. Obviously I said my words on where I thought it was going into camp, and I was leaning towards Lonergan, and this almost gave me a little step back today. Not a huge step back, but I was kind of like, no, this is like a legit competition. The Bill O'Brien coming in early in camp and saying this is my quarterback, that seems like out the window. I think this seems to be definitely still a developing situation that we're going to continue to observe throughout camp, and we're probably not going to learn who's going to be the starter towards the end of camp, if not, during the season.
Yeah. Do you think that this could be like I mean, I guess it's Fordham, so it's
Right.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, because I know in past years they when they throw out that initial depth chart, it's like one or other.
Right. And there's probably not urgency, right? Like we probably won't. Maybe he doesn't even give an answer on that because it's Fordham, and honestly, whoever he names for Fordham, like it could change the following week before Michigan State. Like I think he's probably going to use, if it continues like this, he'll probably use Fordham as another way to kind of see where his quarterback's at and to making that decision before the real first game of the season at Michigan State becomes.
Yeah, and that's going to be a interesting. That's the scenario. That's kind of where you're looking towards. As I think the Fordham game being week 1, that's kind of like the fun. It's like you're just happy to be back at that home. Yeah, it'll be like fun.
Exactly.
A
relaxing game. Try to get the numbers up. You just really want to, get the quarterbacks comfortable there and just let them run, a pretty vanilla offense and see what they can do. But the only other quarterback thing before I move on to note was my guy Shaker. You know how high I've been on Shaker Rising, which would be the 3rd string quarterback at BC. Obviously, he wasn't going to make any point was going to make an impact this year because we have 2 really good quarterbacks ahead of him. But he was he is injured. He had a boot on his left foot, I believe. It didn't seem that serious, according to kind of like how Bill O'Brien kind of dismissed it at the press conference. But that is something to note. He probably won't be playing at the Fordham game at all, which I was kind of looking forward to seeing. Not a major concern, but just something to note in the quarterback depth room.
Yeah. Now he's probably going to be redshirted, correct? More than likely.
Most likely redshirted, and he would probably be in the conversation maybe next year with Lonergan. But again, that's so far beyond us. But I'll say moving on to some of my other notes, the secondary, like I was mentioning, just absolutely swarming the ball, breaking up the passes. I think it was like. And I'll note this too. On when I was saying how Dylan Lonergan wasn't performing at his best, there was 3 deep passes that he attempted and he missed on all 3. So, and all were long. They're all were a little too long. And you can see his body language is a little frustrated with that. But again, secondary was all over these guys, covering really well. I'll say the people that did make really good plays. Lewis Bond, our guy, most consistent, had a great pass from Grayson James on the sidelines that he caught. And then there was one that Jaden Skeet, so great to have him back. He's going to be a massive impact player this year. He made a really, really great pass on the sidelines too. So
he changed his number, right?
Yeah, they actually changed a lot of numbers today, so I'm getting used to the players' numbers again. But that medium short range passes to the out, which we really didn't take advantage of last year because we didn't have the players. Now with Skeet back, you really opens up the playbook there. So expect him to make a huge impact this year. He looks completely healthy and ready to go.
Interesting. Okay.
That was one big thing to note.
That'll be a big upgrade for that room too, because I mean, especially with him, he's gotten hurt the last 2 years or no, I mean he was fine. He just didn't
last
play
year was the big one though. Last year was
he got hurt,
right.
And he was kind of coming out strong too.
He was, man. I mean, he was consistent, with those shorter plays. Which
I
think is going to be real. I mean, it's going to be a big part of the playbook this year. I will make note. This is something that I know a lot of BC fans have always had concerns with, which is last year the punting. Bill O'Brien even mentioned in today's press conference. He was like, the punting was a disaster. He was very colorful with the punting and how disappointed he was with it last year. This year we got a competition. This is not the quarterback room is not the only competition. We actually have a competition on the punters as well. So we have Seamus, who's just an Andover native here in Massachusetts. He is a transfer in this year, and then of course we have Andy Quinn from the NFL Academy from Ireland. So you got this all Irish punting team here. In competition today, they took a good amount of snaps in front of us, and they're all booming these kicks. I think they're not fully ready yet, but they were. The competition was good. It was like a really good hang time on all the kicks, and obviously based on last year, it's significantly better. And we're going to actually have a punting and kicking game this year, which even if it's just serviceable. Just gives us another leg up from last year, in multiple ways. So that was great to see. Especially Andy Quinn seems to have a little leg up there. He's got a huge leg, talented, 6'5", massive leg.
He's that big, huh?
Dude, he's huge, and he looked like he put on some good weight this summer. Wow. In the off season. So again, he's still a freshman. So maybe they do go with more of the experienced guy with Seamus, but it looks like the fact that we have 2 options now from last year, which poor Liam Connor we put in there because we had to. We basically went from 0 options at punter to 2 options. So that was a major development to kind of talk about and bring up.
How are real quick? How are their the practice uniforms? Are they New Balance practice uniforms?
Oh man, I didn't really like. They look. I mean, they look pretty similar to like what it was last year. But
Okay.
I think they, yeah, I think they have to be. I think they are New Balance now.
Yeah.
It was a, like maroon, white, like defense versus
Okay.
offense. Um,
Yeah.
Solid. Solid uniforms. That was the one thing I didn't ask him about today, but yeah, the I'm excited about the uniforms, man. I know there was some like controversy there with the red bandana game uniforms, but yeah, they look good, man. So overall, first day, um, you know, it was like a first day practice. They're starting to get in the
Yeah.
groove of
Sure.
things. Um,
Sure.
I guess I'll get into what some of the Bill O'Brien comments after practice, but yeah, that's pretty much my notes, my friend. I think we got a good competition going at quarterback. That's clearly a developing story still.
Mhm.
There's nothing else to say there, as far as who's winning, who's losing. I know there's a lot, there's some contradictive logical explanations for where they think they'll go with that. And there clearly is no evidence to see like one guy is outperforming the other guy. So we're still stuck with the same narrative and the same arguments that we've had going into camp, which is, Dylan Lonergan being the guy that, Bill O'Brien got from Alabama. And then, maybe he wants, that higher ceiling with him, or Grayson James, who
Yeah.
clearly saved our season last year and, is the guy, and we know what we're going to get from him. So, yeah.
Yeah. Did you notice Ty Lockwood today at all?
Yeah, Ty. Yeah, he didn't make. There wasn't any like passing plays to tight ends really today.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
again, they're doing a lot of formations with the running game with him. He looks solid. That tight end room. He's going to be the guy. I think he has to be the guy that's going to be, that has that Hunter Long kind of threat where he can make those, make those catches and plays. I know, obviously. Uh, there's a lot of potential there, and Bill O'Brien's a tight end guy. I
Yeah.
think they recruited like 10 tight ends, in these upcoming draft classes. So like he's trying to stack up
Yeah.
there. So that's going to be a big part of his game plan. Moving forward.
Nice. And then I guess my last kind of question to you, especially when it comes to like just what you noticed, what you saw, things like that, like with the running backs, like how did the running backs look individually? Like how did Turbo look? How did McDonald look?
Running backs looked good today. Running backs looked good. I would say that was the part of the offense that looked
Yeah,
really solid.
good.
Um, Broom's back, which is great to see.
Oh, true.
And I think that was, we actually got to talk to him today. And he, talked about, how he was out last year, and, this is a very different team for him. And he's kind of, gonna be more of that, that guy and this is a big, a young back group that's kind of going to him for some leadership. But you
Yeah,
can tell Turbo clearly is the guy. I think he's going to get the majority of the snaps. But then you have like you said, Brett, 1B, 1C, 1D with Broom, who is has that ability to catch it out of the backfield. You have all these
might be the
guys.
best.
Exactly. There might
Might
be,
be the best
some
pass catcher.
situational guys. Exactly. Situational. So it's great to have him back. Yeah, they all were running really well today. So that was great to see.
Yeah, I forgot about Broom. I guess I kind of just assumed that because he wasn't here that he was, he left or he wasn't, it's like very
And we have a big. I mean, there's a lot of impact
normal.
players still on it. Like even if you take him out, so
Looks like Jordan Montgomery, Jordan McDonald. He changed his number 5. I like that. I like having single digit running backs. So five's a good number for him, especially as like a the burner that he is. So having him And
You're gonna be
Turbo,
even more
Turbo,
confused with the numbers, dude. They changed them again today. So like even like I
yeah,
think Grayson James is 9 now. Or no, Grayson James is still 3. Dylan Lonergan
he's
is 9
3.
now. So they changed from
Yep.
10 to 9. So yeah, I'll send you a picture of
Yeah.
the new chart.
Turbo's wearing number 2 instead of 27. Jaden Skeet's wearing 1 instead of 6.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. There's a lot of changes. That's gonna be kind of difficult to get used to at first.
Yeah, we have some work to do.
I tell you what, it's never easy, is it?
No, my friend.
It's not like back in my day when wide receivers wore 80s and running backs wore 20s and quarterbacks wore single digits.
It's not right what they're doing these days. But yeah, man, it was a good day. It was a good day. It was good to see all obviously all the BC media guys.
Yeah.
We have some new comms guy at comms people at Boston College, very nice people. So we're continuing to do that. But I have obviously a lot more notes, but a lot of it's depth chart and ones and twos, and I can't report. We're not allowed to report on that, of course. But there's some good stuff going here, and yeah, I think the biggest thing that I did want to talk about, my friend, is that Bill O'Brien's news conference today, post
Yeah.
practice. So I asked him a question about the college football landscape because he's been talking about the college football landscape at the ACC Media Day and how it's like he described it as the Wild Wild West. My big take on that is that I think Bill O'Brien is concerned about the landscape being so unclear and not like the NFL that he's trying to at Boston College make it like kind of counter that and make it more structured, make it more clear and easy to understand for his players and the people he's recruiting. So like how he's mentioned that tier system and making it very clear, hey, like as freshmen you're going to earn this, as sophomores and juniors you're going to make this, and then seniors are going to be making the most money. And as you go up and earn it, not only on the field but off the field as well, you're going to be making more NIL money and money from the school every year. I think he's trying to make it very clear structure, easy to like understand. And that was kind of my question. But the cool thing, he kind of responded to that and then gave me, what I think is a very impactful statement for the future of NIL at BC. So I'm just going to play that. It's like a minute-ish long, so just bear with me, but I think it'll be important for people to hear.
Being a little wild, wild west. Seems like here at BC, you've kind of countered that with your tier system, make it a little more clear and more, structured for the players. Have you seen that resonate in the recruiting and also your kind of the players that you have now?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I appreciate you noticing it that way. I think it's day to day. I really do. Yeah. I do think to this point we have done a good job of handling, whether it's NIL or transfer portal. We've lost some guys. Some guys have transferred, but for the most part, we've kept the bulk of this football team together. NIL wise, we do have an earn it philosophy. Very few exceptions to the rule, maybe a transfer here and there. But overall, I think we compensate the team the right way. We'll see. Time will tell. I think over the course of time, Boston College football, we're going to have to make more of a commitment to NIL. And I think we will. I believe that we will. But I think where we are right now, but it's a day-to-day, connecting with these kids, continuing to coach them, make sure that they know how much you care about them and their success on and off the field. Mm-hmm. It's a daily, it's something you look forward to, but you don't say, okay, we've arrived. There's no way you would ever say that. We've got a long way to go, but I think we're on the right path.
Personally,
So I think the biggest thing takeaway from that is obviously he kind of reiterated what I was talking about before, but the biggest thing he said was, I think BC needs to commit more money to NIL, and he's confident that in the future that he believes that the university will, which I don't, I can't recall him ever saying that on camera or on a microphone before. I know he's obviously talked about NIL in general, but for him to kind of say flat out, hey, I personally think the university needs to financially support this program more. I mean, that's blatantly what he's saying, and that he believes that. So, again, as his leadership position, he is saying, the university needs to, support this program more going forward. And I think, to me, my take, we can have a lot of deeper discussions on why he said that. Maybe that's a reaction to this latest recruiting class, and maybe he wasn't able to pick up the players that he wanted to because he didn't have enough financial support. We don't know. That's all speculation, but I think it was very meaningful that he said that flat out today. Basically not just to us Boston College football fans and media, but to the university, basically flat out saying, yeah, I mean, everything. It's almost like the elephant in the room. We all know this. We all know that BC needs to invest more in this program, but him actually saying that flat out instead of shifting around the question, I thought was really refreshing, important to know
Sure.
for fans.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's very important too, and it's very reassuring to hear someone who really kind of looks at it and is very just get aware of it, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Where in the past we've had coaches who were halfway I almost felt defeated by the state of college football and how it was changing, because if you remember, he talked about you remember when he talked about it in his introductory press conference for Green Bay, where he was like, I'm excited just to get back to coaching. I feel I don't coach anymore. So to go from that to a guy who's kind of embracing it and really showing that, he doesn't understand it, but he has a willingness to understand it. I think that there's a big difference in that. You know what I'm saying? He's got the willingness to kind of figure this out, because I don't think anyone necessarily has it figured out.
And when you said the willingness,
very reassuring.
Yeah, when you say the willingness, I agree with you, my friend. It's kind of like he's, instead of being this is what it is and I can't do anything about it, from this kind of commanding place and leadership position, at Boston College, he's saying, no, this is what I think we need, and almost trying to influence it to kind of become a reality, right? So instead of the coaches of the past being hey, I'm victim of this, and I'm gonna quit or go find another position, he's I love this position, but this is what this position needs to be successful, and really kind of almost demanding that of the university.
Yeah,
I think is a huge step forward as far as again, head coach leadership is. I feel like that's the definition of leadership, instead of complaining or just being it's a wild, he's saying, this is what we need to do. I'm doing as much as I can, but at the end of the day, I need more financial support for this to work, for this to translate into W's.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's all very important to have, that kind of guy here, because it is more than just a number, a dollar sign number, maybe it is at other universities, and I think he probably has to sell the university on the dollar sign amounts, period, on, what they're, the whole structure and stuff, which they have the tier system, that's not something that he just installs and that's kind of it. I'm sure there was a lot of convincing and communication that even had to go to get it to be able to do it that way.
And on that note, Brett, this is again full speculation here, but based on the new rules and each school being able to delegate $20.5 million across their athletic programs, your coaches of all those athletic programs have to kind of make an argument for how much of that pie, how much bigger piece of the pie that they get.
Sure.
And it seems like maybe internally there's a little struggle there, where right now the administration's maybe they're saying, hey, you guys only get $8 million of this budget, where we're still giving it to sailing and track and all these other, basketball, all these other programs. And then meanwhile, Bill's sitting there being I just talked to Ryan Day and he's getting 15 million. How are we supposed to compete, right? And so, to me, and again, this is speculation, he's probably being like, hey, like, I thought, well, if he's saying this publicly, maybe there's something that he's trying to get more attention and more of a, momentum to try and make those arguments internally. Because, I mean, strategically, it makes sense. You have a new administration eventually gonna be coming in here. Father Leahy's going to be out, in the next year. So it's like I think strategically, he's saying I got to make these arguments, externally as well, not just internally, because there's a lot happening here. And like, if he's like, hey, I'm your guy, I'm going to be here long term. He's like, for this to be successful, this is so important right now. What BC does, like, are they going to be competitive and be dishing out, at least 10 million, 13 million a year, like some of these Big East and SEC schools, or are they going to, because we do have hockey, is it going to be less of the pie? And I think Bill O'Brien has to make that argument, publicly now, because there's a lot on the table.
Hockey on both sides too,
Yeah, exactly.
like men's and women's, because the women's have a pretty good hockey, and lacrosse. There's a lot of other sports that, but I do understand that there's a lot of a lot of schools do have different marquee sports. Like you look at, like South Carolina has great women's basketball. So I think all schools have kind of like off-brand teams that they would need to support. But I think especially like talking about BC,
it's difficult.
Football and basketball, and then hockey, like that, and then like they're kind of like marquee off-brand sport, lacrosse, like women's lacrosse. Like there's a lot.
Right. There's a lot.
There's a lot of hands, reaching out for that pie.
Father Jack's got a big job coming in here, because like there's so much more on the table when it comes to the athletic department and the decisions they have to make. And like you're saying, BC has hockey, right? That's a big moneymaker here. Like, so you have to kind of assess that, and there's other big time schools that don't have to deal with that, right? So I think I mentioned this before, like you might need to do more research as far as like what is Michigan doing, right? They have a similar like situation where they have hockey, they have basketball, all that. And I think Bill, being a smart guy and being very connective, I think he understands the landscape and where other schools are at, and I would assume he's trying to get BC up to that level in competence as far as what they're dishing out to his players. And again, I'm speculating a lot off of a little soundbite he said today after practice, but I think clearly that was some good evidence that he's kind of in that same mindset of what I'm kind of talking about, as far as looking to the head and being very conscious about the big picture. He even mentioned today, hey, like, I'm not going to retire anytime soon. I'm here long term. And I think he's looking at this long term. He's not just thinking about, hey, how are we going to get 8 wins this year? He's thinking about, are we going to get, more than 8 wins, into the, next 10 years? And I think without the right, pieces, which is at the end of the day, financial pieces, long term, this, a lot of things need to happen the right way. And I think, it's a good thing. I think we've clearly today was, man, for me, we have the right guy. We so have the right guy. We got our dream head coach who understands not only Boston, but this college football landscape, and, what we need to do, as far as a, Jesuit Catholic institution, and, how to big picture be successful long term. I think it was really refreshing and kind of hopeful that he kind of mentioned that today after practice.
Yeah, and we'll kind of see where it all goes from here too, especially with Bill O'Brien. It's kind of like, he wants to win here. He wants to stay here long term. I hope that it doesn't get to a point where the resources aren't there, and next thing you know, there's other jobs available where the resources are more vast, and and then it's one of those situations where it's like you can't blame them for continuing. continuing to for a better situation. It's like, but I mean, that's that's a what if and a conversation that you hope you never have, but
You
it's
just hope.
at the same time, it's a thing.
Yeah, you just gotta pray Father Jack just gets it, man. And it seems everything I've heard from him,
It
he does
seems
get
he
it.
does.
Yeah.
From what I've gathered, I guess you could say, it seems like he does. And he's worked with the football team he's the team chaplain for what, 20 years or something like that. So he's been around the program and the team. And
Yeah.
it's my thing too is I'm a firm believer that like a football team will elevate your entire athletic department on its own. Like if you have
in university, man, look at Flutie.
yeah,
Look at the Flutie effect, right? Put Boston College on the map. I mean, I think that's something Father Jack understands, is that everyone remembers those 80s teams with Flutie and then even the Coffin era, and how much there was that Boston pride, and how much at a national level Boston College was on the map, and how much that influenced
even the Tom O'Brien era after that too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it made people. I mean, just look at what that impact had. It made people want to attend Boston College. The amount of people, trying to apply to BC went skyrocketed after those eras, and it's like it impacts not only the university financially beneficial, but just like culturally, and again, being more part of this very pro sports landscape in Boston.
Sure.
And I think that's, at the end of the day, you got to win. And I think for Bill, and I'm getting reiterating what I said before, is I think he knows he's done it at the highest levels in the NFL. He's done it at the highest levels in college football at the head coach position. He knows what it takes. And it's nice to see that he's not only making, which I assume he's making internally, these arguments for himself and his program, but even, publicly today making those claims.
Yeah. And I think you'll definitely see this fall, especially when it's going to be a packed house, week after week at home, the ticket sales have to be at an all-time high.
3 playoff teams coming to Chestnut Hill. Doesn't get better than that, man.
Like they sold out season tickets within, like, I don't think they've ever sold out. Like, I don't think they've ever sold. I mean, I think that maybe they did last year, but
yeah. To any first-time listeners, guys, we got Notre Dame coming to Boston College. We have Clemson coming to Boston College. We have SMU coming to Boston College. We have Georgia Tech coming to Boston College. These are like 4 of the best quarterbacks in college football are going to come to the Heights here, and you get to watch them play against our guys. So, come to the Heights.
And then a cool new opponent in Cal, like,
yeah,
different.
Yeah, you got Berkeley. You got the Berkeley fans coming to BC, and that'll be great. I mean, I love the West Coast. I love how our schedule starts, to be honest, man. I mean, we get the first, real test on the road against Michigan State, and then we got 2 West Coast teams. We got Stanford and Cal, and 2 schools with really similar pride and kind of the education and being a high academic schools. And I think that's a cool thing. As much as it, on surface doesn't make any sense that they're in the ACC, it's cool that we kind of get to do a trip over to the Bay Area against Stanford, and they get to host Cal. And we kind of talked about that today internally amongst the media members, but that first stretch looks promising, man. You could start out 4-0, 5-0 going into Clemson. I think that's not like a crazy thing to say. I think that is in reality a possibility if you take care of business, which is exciting, which is kind of what we're all hoping for,
especially if they can beat Michigan State in week 2. Like, I think that's going to give them a lot of momentum.
That's the big
going
one,
out to because then you go out to Stanford. I mean, there's a lot to play for. Stanford's not. They're not projected very good, right?
Yeah, no, we should take care of Stanford and Cal if we're, I don't think our offense is going to be worse than last year, and our offense from last year, should take care of business. Stanford is in a very bad position. Cal lost their quarterback and lost a lot of players, so we should take care of business there. To be honest, I think the two toss-ups are Michigan State and Pitt in those first 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're looking at, you should win one of those. You really realistically are looking at, we should be 4-1 going into Clemson. With the potential of 5-0 if you pull off Michigan State and then pull off Pitt as well. So that's kind of my thinking on it. As we're kind of talking about the ACC teams, Brett, were you able to take a look at the media rankings that came out? There we go, buddy.
Right.
I want to go down the list real quick because I think as what most BC fans probably aren't surprised by, BC is ranked near the bottom. But do you want to go down that list?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Clemson, ran away with it, expected, right? Like, there's no. That one
argument. I agree with.
There's nothing to be had there.
Yeah.
Miami too. I'm a little surprised about that. But then again, like who, I guess, what'd you do? SMU to, you could flip flop them, so it's not like that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I don't fully trust Miami to have the same results they did last year. I don't think Carson Beck's that good.
That's
personally.
an interesting one. That's an interesting one.
But we'll see. We don't play them, right? So that's
no, don't play Miami.
Yeah,
play SMU. But
yeah, so I guess within the first 3, that my only reaction is just Miami's there, I guess. But then again, like who, like I said, like who else are you gonna put up there? Miami's they're if at 2. I mean, it's not an egregious thing. I mean, SMU is right there on their heels. That's I'm actually a little surprised that they're 3 now that I'm thinking of it too. I'm a little surprised that now that I'm thinking about it, I'm a little bit surprised that SMU is still top 3 as well. But I guess people are.
I think to me, Clemson clearly number 1. I don't know who are those people, those few people that are not voting them number 1. But I would say the next 4, I think the first 5 are ranked. They should be the top 5, but Miami, SMU, Georgia Tech, Louisville, those all, could be interchanged. And I think that it could be any order, honestly, the next 4. So that top 5 makes sense with Clemson at number 1. After that is where it just gets like, that's where the debate starts. Like, you have Florida State way up there, and you got, BC.
Florida State got 4 fucking first place votes. What the fuck is that?
That is insane to me. The 4 place, I mean,
whatever.
Yeah. And then you got
7.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That's nuts.
Honestly, like, not to keep swearing, but who the fuck voted for Virginia Tech to win the conference?
They got some really passionate media down there, I guess.
Holy shit! I wonder who voted for us.
I'm looking at all this, my friend, and this looks exactly like how I thought the media would rank Boston College. We're gonna rank them.
Yeah, I'm not surprised about the 13.
No.
I don't think it's right.
Yeah,
I don't think it's right. But
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because I think this is like similar to how they ranked when Matty Ice, was number 2 in the nation that year.
Yeah,
in 2007.
Syracuse above us. The fact that Virginia Tech got a first place vote is so funny.
Virginia Tech first place votes is insane. Them and SMU above us. Obviously, I understand why the media put Florida State above us, but again, they have our backup quarterback that got benched, or a bench quarterback from last year.
And they're coming off a 2-10 season.
A 2-10 season, and they got four first place votes.
4. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Pitt. I have zero confidence in Pitt this year. I mean, because what did they start out 6 or 7-0 last year? Then they lost every game after that, right?
I also like they got to give us more. They didn't give me a ballot this year, so like I think, do they not give these ballots to BC Media?
They do it. They give it to. It's usually like 2. I did it for basketball. They do it for. They give like each school 2.
Yeah,
2 media
I would say
members.
because Stanford. If you look at the bottom,
I picked BC basketball to finish dead last in mine.
And you were right, my friend. If you look at the bottom up, Stanford, Wake Forest, Cal, Virginia, those are, I think, the right bottom 4. But the fact that BC is right above them, coming off a 7-win season, with Bill O'Brien as their head coach, seems
and presumably either the same quarterback back or an upgrade
right. So just
you know
typical BC slander here, from the ACC media, which of course is favorited to the South.
Why is Duke 6?
Yeah, Duke 6 is nuts. UNC with
Weird.
first year coach Bill Belichick is 8th, which is 5 spots above second year coach Bill O'Brien. So that's a little sus as well. I will say
Pitt's 9 because they have a transfer Alabama quarterback.
I will say Pitt. I'm fine with Pitt up there, and I think Pitt makes more sense above us. NC State makes sense above us, but I just don't get Syracuse. I don't get Virginia Tech, and then honestly, Duke, FSU, and UNC. I'm selling, to be honest, but
even if you look at the points, if you look like after 12, after Syracuse at 12, it's a big drop off.
Yeah, we barely made
the bottom.
It's brutal.
The bottom 5 teams, like we're the top bottom 5, but like that's like a hot pile of garbage. Like we didn't crack 1,000 points. Syracuse has almost 1,400 points. Whatever. I don't even know what the point system is, but like if we're gonna track metrics, like we're not even close. Because if you look at like, Syracuse to Virginia Tech, like it's like 30 points, 40 points, whatever it is between them. So it's like, it's close. You could flip flop that there. Syracuse to Pitt, that's only like 200 points. That's something. But then you come to BC, and BC is just like they're battling with Virginia for the bottom. Like it's weird. Like there's just
this is just not how I would range it, to be honest. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm an expert on all these teams, but I mean, I think you only really have one true national championship contender, and that's Clemson. I think you have 4 potential playoff teams, which is Miami, SMU, Georgia Tech, and Louisville. And then the only other dark horses, I think the only dark horses are NC State, Pitt, and BC. I think we're one of the dark horses. These other teams, I'm totally not buying, to be honest. But again,
I agree with those teams. I agree with the teams that you just listed. The only other team that I would consider adding would be UNC, just because of Bill Belichick. As a dark horse, that's the only other team that.
As Boston guys, right? Until we don't see it, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah, but like the Florida State thing is crazy to me. But I think it's just I'm just pissed.
The Duke, who their Florida State is. Doesn't make sense to me, and and Virginia Tech and
Mm-mm.
Syracuse not buying it either. So yeah,
Very weird, honestly. Very weird. Um, I mean, speaking of which, Tommy had comments at ACC Media Day. Like, do you care? Do you care?
yeah. I mean, I it's frustrating that we have to keep talking about Tommy, but he
Mhm.
keeps talking about himself, you know, and
Yeah.
it's not, and it's directly at BC. I mean, we haven't talked since the ACC Media Day, but his comments are ridiculous. And I think in
Yeah.
context, if you look at it, it's clearly a guy, and we know him with a massive ego and just not saying and double tripling down because that's his brand. He's clearly branded himself as that dude who just thinks so highly of himself. But in the process, like I said, uh, I don't like those dudes that make that brand them. I'm fine with you branding yourself that way, but don't do it by punching down and bringing down your former teammates. And that's the thing that frustrated me.
Yeah.
That's something I just don't take lightly. And also the shade towards Bill O'Brien. And I love that Bill O'Brien down in Charlotte, directly said to the media, no, Tommy was benched, because Tommy kept trying to be like, I wasn't benched, but I don't want to talk about it. It's like, no, let's stop being little boys here and be grown men. You got benched, buddy. Yeah, you went to Florida State because their fans, because you toasted FSU. The two games that you played the best in, you torched them, so your fans think you're the greatest thing, and you're gonna dive deeper into that brand. But at BC, you're not fooling anyone, and you're definitely not fooling Bill O'Brien.
Mhm.
And when even the national media is kind of laughing, because when you say, "Oh, I'm not benched, I'm not talking about it," yeah, you're not talking about it because you got benched.
Yeah, you got benched and then you quit. He's like, I didn't. He's like, I didn't bench or quit. I didn't get benched and I didn't quit. It's like, yeah, you did both of those. Actually, you very much did both of those. And there's really no uh like argument around it. Like, you quit with three. You got replaced and then left the team with 3 games left in the season. You absolutely did. That happened. Like, I don't know how else to put this, bud. Like, that actually happened. Like, you left the team after they decided to start somebody else because you didn't
Yeah,
like it.
that week one matchup at FSU Alabama is going to be must watch TV though.
Oh my god, it's gonna be the ultimate hate watch.
BC fans are definitely
Like,
going
I
to be
will
tuning
be
into
I
that.
I will absolutely be watching just to, like, hate and root for a very poor performance. That's certain.
Yeah, yeah, but it's just disappointing, man. You don't want to, like, the fact that we're still talking about Tommy months and months after he left and quit on BC. It's just like kind
Yeah.
of depressing, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like the fact
Yeah,
that
like,
the
I'm with you.
coaches
I'm
have to
I'm kind of
respond
also
and then we have to talk about it. It's like, geez, Tommy, please, man, just for everyone's sake, just shut up and just play on the field. Just
even after the ACC Media Day, I was just kind of like, I I expected him to say things like that. I'm not really that there's no shock here. I'm not really surprised. I don't really care. I really
yeah.
like, that's the thing too. Like, I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could care less actually.
Mhm. Yeah. Moving on, we got our own stuff to talk about, and at the end of the day,
Yeah.
we got the quarterback. Again, this goes back to the quarterback competition. I mean, a big reason why a lot of our fans are so loyal and want Grayson to get the spot is because how he was able to take over and own that leadership position and basically save the season last year and step in there and really perform, great under those conditions. And so I feel like everyone's pulling for him because as fans, it was refreshing to see, kind of in contrast to how Tommy left. Grayson coming in and just being so responsible and mature and owning that situation.
Absolutely. And, they very much represent what we want our football team to be. And I think that aligns with us a lot more. And we're in a better position because of it. And, I don't hope he balls out at FSU at all. Like, I really don't. Like, most people who leave, even when people leave on bad notes, in the, my mindset is, I hope they play well. He's like the only guy who I can honestly say, like, I have no good wishes for. Like, he didn't earn any of our respect. He didn't earn any of our admiration. Like, the way it's gone down since then has just been an absolute train wreck. Like, whoever their comms people are, like, they need to be fired like yesterday for the way that's been handled. But that's Florida State. Like, that's what they want. I think they're cool. Like, cause they're in the conversation that keeps them relevant, that keeps them in the news cycle. I don't think they care that it's bad.
It's the opposite of BC, right? Like, BC, the guys that went down there are so mature and respectful and just like ooze of leadership and responsibility. And the difference is that you have FSU as a brand. They can win 2 games and everyone's talking about them. We have to make the playoffs for people to even talk about us. So it's the complete opposite situation. And it almost kind of comes from that place of almost like privilege or expectation that they're able to just like say whatever. And it's kind of it puts things in perspective, because you're kind of like, thank God Boston College almost isn't that culture. In a way, we're just this humble New England small school that has to earn it, if you really go back to what Bill O'Brien's been preaching.
It'd be so funny if that kid Brock Glenn ends up starting over him anyways. I don't think he's very good either, though, so probably not. But
yeah, well, I think there's a good chance of you're going to see him at some point based on what we know, buddy. So
yeah, I think so too. All right, well, that's a good first day of camp.
Yeah, training camp day 1.
We know where
good stuff.
Football season is on us. We know football season's back. We know where we're projected to be. It can only be up from there. Tommy's still running his mouth. That's the whole episode. Those are our bullet points.
Yeah,
more
man.
or less.
And I think that for us, I'd so rather be Boston College football fans than FSU fans. And I think if you take away from where the program is right now, it's like so hopeful. You clearly have the right head coach. You clearly have momentum. You got a guy that understands more than any other coach in college football. Bill O'Brien gets what it takes to win, and gets Boston, gets the media landscape, gets the sports landscape in Boston, understands what he needs to do to get people in the stands, what he needs to do to get wins. So as a BC fan, you're super, super hopeful and happy about where we are. And, Bill O'Brien's building a monster.
Too blessed to be stressed, buddy. That's all there is to it.
Hell yeah.
All right. So we're going to be putting more stuff back on Twitter, X, Eagles Daily _BC. Unfortunately, our Twitter accounts are gassed. So we're going to be restarting that. I know, Mac, what did you post? What did you post your TikTok on, if you want to kind of shout that out quickly too?
Yeah, I'll give a little update. So, obviously BC football fans had a huge following on X. We almost had 25,000 followers. But we're moving pretty much, everything. We're really trying to move everything to Instagram and TikTok. So it's the same Twitter handle. It was the same handle at
Okay.
BC Football Fans. So go follow us on TikTok and go follow us on Instagram. We're also on Threads and a bunch of other on Facebook as well. So go check us out. Every practice and every training camp practice, I'll be posting a video. I posted one today for day one. So go check that out on TikTok. We'll start to try and get that content on Instagram and on so our new X accounts as well. But yeah, BC Football Fans, go check us out.
And then I'll hopefully make a cameo in some of these videos coming up too. Yeah. So I would like to start kind of getting more video content out for people as well. I know that that's kind of been suggested to us.
Yeah, we'll be putting up. I mean, we're fully in the season. We'll be putting up more consistent content there, and then I'm going to be starting to write a lot more articles on Eagles Daily. So as always, check us out on eaglesdaily.com. And then, of course, for this podcast, guys, go to eaglesweekly.com. All episodes are there, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're up there, and we're going to be doing this on a week. Eagles Weekly. Going to be doing this on a weekly basis.
Yep, we'll be back on a weekly basis. Eagles Weekly, that Twitter account also is down, but we'll get that going. There's Eagles Weekly BC on Instagram and all that good stuff. Eagles Daily BC is across all social media platforms. So we're gonna get everything kind of pumping. BC Football Fans, all those accounts will be, kind of pumping here, in the coming weeks as we really gear up for another athletic year. So make sure to follow, subscribe, share, like, retweet, whatever the heck.
Yeah, join the community, guys.
Yeah,
comment because we'll see your stuff. I respond to every comment. So shout us out on TikTok or shout us out on Instagram. We'll ask us questions too, because we'll discuss them on the pod.
Yeah.
So this is direct to the people. Again, we're the most direct podcast, man. It's like you guys can DM us, you guys can comment on all our stuff, and we'll answer.
Yeah, man. AJ Black, he's gonna give you all the educational, informed stuff. We're gonna give you the bullshit.
Yeah, we're more opinion guys.
Yeah. If you want real information and stats broken down, education, listen to him.
Yeah, shout out to AJ, great guy. Saw him today, and we'll try to get him on the pod so you guys are more informed before the season kicks off.
Yep. Yeah. When I was on his podcast, he described our podcast as like sitting back and smoking a cigar, and I was like, that is a massive compliment. Thank you for saying that. That's very good.
I like that vibe. Maybe we should start lighting up, Brett.
I love that. All right, episode 30, the Ken Griffey episode, the I don't even know, LV Whitworth episode. I can't think of any other notable number 30s, but
30, man.
In the books.
We're you're a year into this thing, and we're about to go into year 2 of Bill O'Brien. So
year 2,
super pumped.
Yeah, we're pretty aligned with Bill O'Brien with this podcast too, so that's good. Year 2 for him, year 2 for us. That's it. That's all I got. All right. Thanks, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Follow the accounts, BC Football Fans, Eagles Daily _BC. That's it for me for now. And go Eagles.
Go Eagles.